Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into a Reddit post from a husband who's pretty upset.
Oh,
Yeah, it seems like kind of a small thing, but it really blew up online. It got a ton of comments.
I think I saw that one. Yeah, what sub was it on?
This was on Our Guy Cry, and basically the husband is saying he just feels
Okay.
he feels really distanced from his wife emotionally, and he kind of stumbled upon this thing that just made him feel even worse.
Interesting.
So he was saying that he struggles with anxiety and depression already,
Oh, wow.
and has some insecurities about being a good husband and a dad.
It sounds like maybe those insecurities are kind of playing into how he's
Exactly.
seeing this whole thing.
Exactly. And it all has to do with how his wife has him labeled in her phone contacts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so apparently she's always called him by this certain pet name, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he saw that in her phone, she just has him as his first name, and then in brackets,
Oh, no.
it's his kids' names and the word dad.
Mm.
And it just made him feel like reduced to just a role.
Yeah.
You know, like all those years together don't mean anything.
Yeah. I bet that would sting a little.
And he even shared a quote from the post.
What did he say?
He wrote, "It wasn't the pet name she's called me for the past 18 years. It was simply my first name followed in brackets with my son and daughter's name and the word dad.
Wow.
It just felt so cold, like the years together mean nothing."
Oof. Yeah. I can see why he's upset. That's rough.
Yeah, and then when he was comparing it to how someone might label the parent of their kid's friend.
Right, just like purely functional,
Yeah,
not personal at all.
And of course, the Reddit community went wild.
Yeah.
Lots of different opinions and advice.
I bet. What were people saying?
Well, some people were saying maybe it's just practical.
Yeah, for emergencies and stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of people said they have contacts labeled
Right.
IC1 boyfriend or, IC2 sister, that kind of thing.
I see. In the case of emergency, makes sense.
Yeah, so if there was an emergency and someone needed to use her phone,
Exactly.
they would know right away who to call.
That's a good point. In a crisis, first responders need
Right.
clear information.
For sure. And a pet name wouldn't really help in that situation.
Not at all.
But then some people were saying,
yeah.
even for emergencies, she could have at least put husband in there too.
Yeah, I see both sides.
It's that push and pull between the practical and the emotional,
Absolutely.
Not
You've got the
something-
logical reason for the label, but then you've got the emotional impact on him.
It makes you wonder, can we really separate those things in relationships?
Right. Is it possible?
Even if there's a good reason for it, does that make his feelings any less valid?
That's the big question. And I think that's what we need to explore here.
For sure. Because is this a sign of a bigger problem in their marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just him misinterpreting things because of his own insecurities?
Yeah, and how much of those insecurities may be making this whole thing feel worse for him?
So many layers to unpack here.
Absolutely. This could be good.
And a lot of people in those comments were picking up on that, how his own insecurities
Right.
might be making this whole thing seem worse.
Yeah, they were saying he's being too hard on himself.
Kind of maybe projecting those insecurities onto his wife.
That's interesting because it brings up this whole idea of self-compassion,
Oh, totally.
especially in relationships. It's easy to get caught up in that negative self-talk
Absolutely.
when you're already feeling kind of vulnerable.
For sure. And then it can really distort how you see your partner
Exactly.
and the whole relationship.
It's like that saying, making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah. But at the same time, his feelings are still valid.
Oh, absolutely. Just because his insecurities might be playing a part, it doesn't mean he's not hurting.
Exactly. And that's something they need to work through.
Definitely. So what kind of advice were people giving him?
It was all over the place. Some people were saying he should talk to his wife.
Makes sense.
Really open up about how he's feeling.
Yeah, communication is key.
And maybe even go to couples therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But then other people were saying he should focus on himself first.
Interesting. So work on his own self-esteem.
Yeah, maybe hit the gym or pick up a new hobby.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Build up his confidence.
Yeah. And then there were even some comments saying
Yeah.
maybe they should just separate.
Whoa. Okay, that's a big jump.
I know, right? But it does make you think
Yeah.
about individual happiness,
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Sometimes staying in a relationship that isn't working can actually hold you back from growing.
As a person.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's an important point to remember.
Totally. But I do want to go back to that idea of communication for a sec.
Yeah, that seemed to be a big theme in the comments.
It was. Everyone was saying how crucial it is.
Especially when you're dealing with something like this.
Totally. Because if you keep things bottled up,
Mm-hmm.
it just leads to resentment and disconnect.
100%. Like,
Okay.
avoiding conflict might seem easier in the moment, but it almost always makes things worse in the long run.
And this whole thing with the contact label, like
Right.
whether it was intentional or not,
Mm-hmm.
it's clearly exposed a communication breakdown between them.
Yeah, they've got some work to do there.
So how do they even start that conversation?
Well, there were some really good suggestions in the comments,
Like what?
like using I feel statements.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, instead of blaming his wife, he could focus on how her actions made him feel.
Makes sense. That way it's less accusatory.
Exactly. It's about inviting empathy and understanding.
So instead of saying, you made me feel unimportant,
Right.
he could say, I felt hurt and unimportant when I saw that label,
Perfect. Because then it becomes about sharing his perspective.
not attacking her,
And hopefully that'll open the door for her to see things from his side.
even if she didn't mean to hurt him,
It's about rebuilding that trust and connection.
which is so important. And, it made me think about something. There was a comment about how kids learn from watching their parents,
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
like how they handle conflict and express their emotions.
So true. They're little sponges.
So this situation and how they deal with it.
Could really impact their kids, too.
Exactly. And it made me realize,
Yeah.
this isn't just about a contact label anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's about so much more.
It's about their communication patterns and their emotional intelligence.
And ultimately, the health of their relationship as a whole.
It's amazing how something so small can become so big.
Isn't it? It's a reminder that even the tiniest things
Mm-hmm.
can reveal deeper truths about ourselves and our relationships.
Absolutely. And it's up to us to pay attention.
And use those moments as opportunities to grow and connect.
I love that. It's a good takeaway.
I know, it's crazy, right? Who knew a phone contact could cause so much drama?
Seriously. It just shows you how these little things can really open up a whole can of worms.
And I keep thinking about this one comment that said, relationships evolve over time.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder if maybe this whole situation
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily a sign that their marriage is doomed,
Right.
but more like a sign that they've kind of drifted apart.
That's interesting.
Like their relationship has changed.
Makes sense. Relationships are definitely not static.
Right. They're always changing.
They're ebb and flow,
Yeah.
And sometimes people grow in different directions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not always a bad thing.
It doesn't have to be.
That distance can actually be a chance for both of them to figure out
Yeah.
who they are and what they want.
As individuals.
Yeah, as long as they talk about it.
Communication is key.
Always. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this whole conversation.
What is?
Sometimes it takes something small, like this contact label,
Mm-hmm.
to make us realize that we need to have those bigger conversations.
With our partners.
Yeah.
I agree.
Are we still happy? Are we growing together or apart?
Those are important questions to ask no matter how long you've been together.
And it's a good reminder for all of us listening to take a look at our own relationships.
Yeah.
And think about how we communicate.
Are we being open and honest with our partners?
Are we making each other feel loved and appreciated?
And sometimes it's hard to see those things clearly when you're in the thick of it.
Totally. We can get so caught up in our own perspectives
Exactly.
that we miss what's really going on.
So maybe this deep dive has sparked some questions for you.
Maybe it's time to have that conversation you've been putting off.
Or try a new way of communicating with your partner.
And if you're feeling brave,
Yeah.
share your thoughts in the comments below.
We'd love to hear from you.
We're all about creating a community here.
Of people who are open-minded and want to grow.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives into the messy world of human relationships,
Oh, yeah.
make sure you're subscribed to Voices of the Soul.
You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
New episodes every week,
We cover all sorts of topics.
so you're sure to find something that resonates with you.
And if you want even more amazing content,
Check out Shauna Plage's YouTube channel.
she's got tons of great videos on emotional intelligence and self-awareness.
And all things relationships.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of self-discovery.
And remember, keep those conversations flowing.
And those hearts open.
Until next time, everyone.